Alright, top right corner of the map, our blue Terran player to kickstart us. It is going to be Team Liquid's Clem looking for 2-0 to force an ace match. As at the bottom left, our red Protoss player from the Shopify Rebellion, Harstem. Wow. He's gonna cannon rush Clem of all things. That is definitely one way to go about it. Alright, well, pylon already going down on the low ground, and Clem didn't see it just yet. Okay, now he sees it. Okay, so Clem sees the pylon. Obviously, this isn't a position where the cannon can come down if the SCV wasn't there, but yeah, now the cannon's blocked, so Harstem can't get the cannon down there. Okay, there we go. So the SCV was blocking that for a little bit, but we do get the full wall off. The SCV nearly killing a probe. Poor SCV, though, is locked out. Gets a probe kill, though, so he will die a hero if nothing else. Obviously, right now, the last thing you want is to let a probe into the base, so this SCV can't risk getting back home. Unfortunately, it's going to remain locked out here. But, yeah, obviously, as soon as this one probe dies, you do not have high ground vision. If you don't have high ground vision, then you can't really do much here, right? Cannon will start pinging away at the supply depot. Make it a couple of cannons pinging away at the supply depots. Yeah, I mean, the Marines just can't quite reach the probe on the ramp to really push it down. Move the high ground vision, so it's a little bit annoying, but I guess the main thing right now is stop a probe from getting in here once the depots have been knocked down, because what can you do then? If the probe can't get in, the best you can really do is, well, use these two cannons. Awesome. Did he build anything else back at home just yet, by the way? Okay, he did build a gateway. Cybercore just starting. The bunker cancels because he realizes the bunker's just not really in a good place, and with two Marines, his pylon never really gets up. It provides some high ground vision. We're building a Reaper instead of an additional Marine. An additional Marine would have had this killed off already, so... Reaper obviously can go across the map and obviously get an info as to what exactly Harstem is up to back at home. Maybe punish him for the latest Cybercore and hence a late range unit, which means defending against the Reaper should be pretty difficult as well. And here are the Marines. They get the probe. Perfect. That's exactly what I was talking about just before, because by killing off the probe, you no longer have high ground vision. If you don't have high ground vision, you can't hit these Marines with the cannons, so the cannons just can't really do much anymore. Obviously, it was a shame not to get the probe sooner, but gets it now. And meanwhile, we do have the Reaper putting itself at work across the map, finding itself a couple of workers already, and the entire mineral line pulled away from mining, so Clem causing quite a bit of chaos for Harstem. And this Reaper, I think, is easily out alive. The Adept Shade nowhere close to finishing to deny its retreat. And it's going to be us in a very good position here as... Oh, cannon does get a kill. There's a probe here. This SCV, by the way, has been off hiding to the side. No! The SCV could have had its second kill of the game. Instead, the Marine steals it. And we will start to progress through this pylon. Barracks backed it up. Got a reactor going. We've got a Hellion out. Take some more map control with that. And that's where this game stands at the moment here. As Clem again needs the 2-0. Try and force an ace match. Harstem just needs to try and find one map win, but that's more easily said than done when you're playing against Clem. The Hellion will poke around, hit the mineral line a little bit. Well, thank you, just before I forget, as it's on my screen still, Strobel for the 9-month resub on the Prime. Thank you so much for resubscribing and welcome back. I really appreciate it. Alright, Viking, Cyclone on the way from Clem here. Barracks as well. Orbital continuing through, and the Stargate just finishing, meaning that Phoenix can start out, so that Phoenix started up as well for the moment. Maybe where Harstem takes this game. A little bit worried about what Harstem can do if Clem just comes across the map with the timing. Feels like he was already going to be pretty weak to something like that just because of how the game has gone. And it feels like it's only going to get worse for him as he builds into Phoenix, because Phoenix don't really immediately provide a defense against a straight-up push. So if Clem can find a chance to get across the map aggressively, I think Clem would probably do very well for himself. But, well, the question becomes, can Clem get across the map very aggressively or not? That is, yeah, not necessarily a guarantee, right? He starts up stimming +1, so it might not even be that Clem feels like he wants to attack. He might just want to sit back a bit. And we'll see the Phoenix. Obviously, you don't want to move out as well. The Phoenix are going to shut down a lot of reinforcements and SCVs in the process. That's something else to be considering. Phoenix lifting and killing a Hellion. And hey, Tater Tutor, thank you also for the Prime sub. So many Primes today, guys. Thank you so much. Welcome. And thanks for supporting the stream. Appreciate it. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for the 513 sub on the Prime, Tater Tutor. Hell yeah. Phoenix kill off a Viking. Marine's going to turn back around. Looks like Clem will at least wait until he's got Stim, other bio upgrades in play before he tries to make something more of a play here. Phoenix compressing forward. Cyclone gets a lock on to one of those Phoenix pretty quickly. Just turning it away to the side. Just going to have the Robo Facility. Chrono boosting out. The Colossus will begin. Phoenix showing up. We'll get 1 and 2 Widow Mines. Nice little pick off on the missile turret there. Is going to fire up a little bit. And some more damage to a Phoenix. Marines the Cyclone down the south, obviously just clearing out the third location. Not letting the third come up. As long as there's no third base here, Clem is not really too concerned. His own third CC is building. If that's quicker than the Protoss plays, you're feeling pretty happy. The last thing you want to do is give up too much of an advantage by attacking into a... You know, if you attack into like a Colossus or so and you're just not quite ready to really play against a Colossus. That's one of the worst things you can do, really, right? Just opening yourself up to trouble for no real good reason. And definitely something you just want to try and steer clear of. Bioforce will come down to the south side then, so moving into position. Might as well be burrowing up, just getting the Nexus building on the third base location as well. Extended Thermal Lens still coming through. Zealot just now finishing. Nexus really needs to get up here for Harstem. He needs that third base at this point, right? He just needs the third economy to start rolling in this game. If he gets denied that much longer, he really will just remain in quite a lot of trouble, in all honesty. Phoenix of Harstem coming across the map to see what they can do. They will find 1 Marine, they will find 2 Marines. And looking now for some Marauders as well, so... Yeah, doing pretty nicely with this little bit of harass. A couple of Vikings taking some decent shots. And this is what you want to do with the Phoenix, right? Finding a lot of value for very little cost. You know, this isn't costing you anything. It's not something you get slowed down doing. It's just slowing down the Terran. It's perfect. It's exactly what you need in a position like this, honestly. It is exactly what you need. Robo Bay is up, and the Disruptor is already on the way out as well. So continue to pull that through. Just gonna see that second Stargate even from Harstem building up. He has these couple Marines just trying to pick up info, spotting the 4th base coming up. Is Harstem getting back on his feet here? Is he looking to be actually in not so bad a spot, all things considered, compared to where we were? I'm not sure, because while he gets the 4th base going, etc., he's adding more Stargates. You see Clem's tech just coming online as well. You know, Armory, Vikings, Ghosts. All of this setup coming through. He's already on 1-1 against 0-0. Plus 1 ground weapons only just started for Harstem, so that obviously doesn't feel good. Feels pretty rough, quite frankly. Fireforce still coming along, trying to see just what else may be done. Widow Mine goes off, hits the Phoenix a little bit. Ghost and Shockwave's just continuing through, so getting that EMP radius increase. I mean, Clem's army soon is going to be pretty formidable. Obviously, he's kind of choosing to play into a much slower kind of game here, right? I feel like if he really wanted to, he probably could have put a bit more pressure on and really had Harstem at his, a real edge of ability to defend just with what he'd had. Vikings and the bio units coming together, just a few shots going off. The Phoenix still taking some damage. Disruptor shot fires, boom! A couple of ghosts go down immediately, and a Colossi able to fire up a little bit. Phoenix still firing, and a Viking still taking shots. That's a Nexus. Is that a Nexus because he wants to be able to defend this position with super batteries when he gets into carriers and stuff? Like, that's the only reason I feel like you build a Nexus there, so you can super battery that location. It just has to be like some kind of a battery farm, right? And then you just want to be able to defend the centralized area. Well, Clem is pushing around the left-hand side. Like I said, Clem's definitely kind of invited this stage of the game. You know, he definitely could have done more if he wanted to before now to put himself into a better position as our Marines come stimming forward. Cannons delivering a bit of a punch already. More carriers coming out, the Disruptors coming through as well. Harstem just camping out down in this bottom left corner. And just saying, yeah, if I just survive on 4 bases, I can just get up to whatever I need, and then maybe think about further bases once my army is in God mode territory, right? It's just playing a very slow-going game up until that point. It's an interesting choice. Definitely intrigued as to how it'll work out for him in the end. Is Vikings will find a Colossus. We'll get a couple of Phoenix as well as they just kind of wail, though the Vikings are also taking losses. It's a trade, in fairness. I wouldn't say anyone comes out that happier than the other player. CC wants to set up on the far right-hand side of the map as well, so we'd love to get that going. As the Vikings poking away, we get rid of the Adept already. Once again, the Vikings trying to get a little bit more done as we nibble our way through a couple of Phoenix. Pressing forward, Cannon's already in some trouble as we try and get rid of a carrier. Not happening just yet. The Phoenix flying forward. A couple of Widowmine shots going off. The Vikings still having to pull away. More and more Vikings pouring out. Another starport about to finish up here as well. A couple more Vikings on the way out as well. It's really becoming quite serious as we have all those units coming into play. I started off with the cannon rush. Did not think we would get to this point of the game considering the starting point and how things went in those early moments. I think Clem defended it so aptly as well. Like, Clem never really got heavily slowed down by it, right? So it just felt as though Clem should have been able to have a chance to come across the map and do very well. But like I say, he kind of played it a bit slow. He's playing pretty slow right now as well. He's not over eager to run into fights. He's hitting EMPs and just picking up a couple things at a time before backing away. Obviously right now, fully retreating away from this Bioforce. Few more Phoenix being shot down again. Once they're EMP'd, they become even more vulnerable to those Vikings dropping out the sky even more easily than they were before. Here come the Phoenix again, and a couple of them knocked down already, making 3 of them. Now the carrier is going to come through, and they're going to start intercepting down some Vikings if they can. Disruptors obviously continue to zone away the rest of that force. This Colossus is killing the wrong thing. If you want to be freed from this base, there are better things to kill off than the Nexus. If the Colossus really is just stuck there. 16 minutes in game, like I said, just very teched up armies. Harstem is drawing himself out to a 5th base, and I wonder if that might be the point at which he becomes, he gets into just a little bit too much trouble here. Just because he's obviously going to have an extra location to defend. It's somewhere that Clem can maybe start directing his aggression toward a little bit more easily. Feels like a possibility, if nothing else, as Vikings continue to kite, getting rid of a lot of carriers. Phoenix as well continue to drop on down and re-engage in. The Bioforce just stood here fighting. The Interceptor's putting in some serious work. Disruptor shots continuing to come out, not really striking anything too serious. Clem killed a lot of supply in this fight, comes out 30 in his favor. Harstem's forces just not really putting out the damage they needed to. There is +2 air weapons, but +3 still on the way. The ground army is obviously massively out of grid as well. Not that there was much of a ground army, but whatever was there doesn't really do very much. It's really kind of just down to the disruptors on the ground. I'm going to drop into the main base, and as Harstem is obviously reeling off that fight, he might not be able to deal with this and drop into the main as easily as he would usually. This is why I think Clem should hit the bottom right base as well. Really draw Harstem out a lot. As these interceptors and carriers just show up over here. We're seeing the Bioforce actually still surviving for now, but like I say, we have moved to the bottom right. We're going to land the Vikings to start working our way through this location. Carriers picking their way through a little bit of bio. The ghosts will EMP. A couple of stalkers will be taken down. The cannon will fall as well. The bio units are going to continue to just sit on this nexus in the bottom right-hand corner of the nexus. Losing all of the probes on this base. I mean, he obviously dealt with the attack on the bottom left, but this is what I said. I wanted to see Clem in a couple different places, and he absolutely put himself in a couple different places. He made himself very difficult to stop. Now he's building 6 Vikings at a time. Harstem is just massing carriers. 6 Vikings at a time will go a long way to being enough, I would imagine, in this kind of situation. Harstem's army supply is back above Clem's. I think the problem Harstem will have is that he can't really rebuild off of a big fight again. So his next big fight needs to be a victory for him. And the way Clem's been approaching it is he's not being quick to jump into the big fights, right? He's been pretty good at just kind of poking in from the edges. That's the sort of stuff Harstem can't deal with, because he's not even going to be able to max out easily here the first time around. Never mind replacing extra units he might be losing on his way to maxing out. Goes hit a couple of EMPs, and we see the Vikings starting to back it up. Like I said, Clem is not going to rush into a straight-up fight if he can avoid it. He will do a bit of back and forth to start us out. And again, Harstem with 24 less workers than Clem, plus mules and whatever else. And obviously just a lack of bases. I would be surprised if Harstem doesn't even have some oversaturation despite the lower count. That's just rough, and now Clem can start to nuke to apply a bit of pressure from far off as well. These carriers are in trouble here, surely. I really thought these Vikings would be able to get a shot on the carriers across this ledge since they were backing away there. And you're going to get a few interceptors of Frizz that is hitting a base, and boom, there goes a chunk of static defense knocked down as well. The nuke landing successfully to clear out the static defense, one of the best things nukes can do, because obviously then it's guaranteed damage. Static defense is called static for a reason. Disruptor shot firing through, hitting the rocks. Five missile turrets up for Clem, of course. Intense game for him because he cannot afford to lose a single map here or this series ends. These Vikings, man, there's so many Vikings. It almost feels like what even kills this amount of Vikings? Get splash damage, right? There isn't any. No Archons, no Storm. Is that what we're missing here? I mean, I feel like he probably would have had Storm if he was still on 5 bases. I don't think he's necessarily had. And he's obviously had money to rebuild with, but rebuilding and like teching fully into Storm probably feels quite scary to do in combination when you've not had that 5th base up at all. Ground army being kept away for Clem. Disruptors doing their job as the Phoenix doing their best to tank on the way in here. 7 Vikings building at a time, though. I mean, Clem's economy is really just booming to extreme extents. Going back and forth, the claw side being picked off. It really is just the disruptors on the ground. If they ever get caught without a shot available, Clem's ground army will come and join this fight very comfortably. One-shot carriers at the moment. The Phoenix dive forward again. The massive missile turrets to aid, and especially good at just clearing out quite a few of the interceptors just here and there. Of course, that's only down that bottom side as the Vikings get another carrier pick off. The Vikings once more just trading with those Phoenix as they kite away. We've seen that a few times at this stage. Disruptor shot down the ramp, going to hit a missile turret, and just going to be seeing the Phoenix still coming through. Viking count is actually suffering a little bit, at least in this cluster. There's 16 in total on the map, so about 13 in the main base or so. One production or so. So there's some number of them somewhere. 12 of them somewhere, as 4 of them were here. They just die instantly. Harstem. It's putting Clem in a bit of a weird spot. If Harstem could just shut down... Oh, well, there's the Disruptors going down. Is this a big issue? Because now the Marines and Ghosts can maybe just fight. The Vikings will take their chance to jump on the carriers as the Interceptors busy themselves with the ground army, and there just wasn't enough Interceptors anyways. GG is called, and Clem does pick up the first game against Harstem after quite the effort. Took a little while, but we got there, didn't we? They really did try to start this one quickly, apparently, so we'll go straight in here for game number 2. As in the top left-hand corner of the map, our blue Terran player from Team Liquid. This is Clem. Top right, our red Protoss player is Harstem. Now you can see the next game is short. And you have no idea how long the next game is. I don't think it reveals that at all. It's like a 6.5 hour YouTube video. I don't think seeing the timer on the YouTube, the clean feed VOD really makes much difference. Because they also have an undetermined amount of time at the end of the stream as well before they turn the stream off, so... I guess you could say how long at most the games may be, but I don't think you can say how long the games overall will be. Unless you're really clever. Let's see what we get, though. Just to see what Harstem tries to do this game. I mean, he drew it back, obviously, from that tough position last time around. In a game where he was obviously... definitely trailing off a cannon rush that didn't really work out or anything. So yeah, cannon rush that didn't really go all too hot. I'm definitely played for the later game as well, right? So... yeah, it was kind of interesting him just saying, I kind of accept the later game, let's just go there then. If that's where you want to go, I'm happy to meet you there. Stargaze as the map pick from Harstem is just this map which kind of makes me feel like he wants to do the same thing. It really encourages, you know, a setup of bases that's hard for the Terran to push into. And as long as he makes it past, say, like 10 minutes or so, I feel like if he wants to play a similar style, he absolutely should be able to get to it with the carriers, etc. Like, the first 10 minutes are the most dangerous, especially when you're playing against Clem. It's also definitely noteworthy. Opening here from Clem, and you see Reactor and Tech Lab on a couple of racks. You see in the in base, so he's just going to be able to get that location set up. Makes it very difficult for Harstem to do anything early in terms of harassing. Harstem is as well long distance mining his own in-base minerals just to clear out that pathway so you can build the Nexus. Of course, it is blocked by a couple of mineral patches initially. Harstem is just going to open straight to Phoenix this time around. There's the Robo facility quickly too, so far looks like he might just open the same kind of Phoenix Colossus setup. Let's get going from there and see what he can do. A couple of Marines coming in, nibbling at that Phoenix for a little bit. This Phoenix does end up diverting its way back out over the sides. Reaper will go down as well. The Phoenix invests in a lift there. Don't think Clem can be upset if the Phoenix lifted. Its energy used is less energy to be put elsewhere. And yeah, that was the third for Harstem, also just taking the in-base. Obviously pretty early on rather than going elsewhere, so there's something else that's hard for Clem to identify if the Reaper's dead, so it's even more worthwhile for Harstem to have lifted off and killed off that Reaper. Yeah, straight to the Robo Bay. It does just feel like he wants to play Phoenix Colossus. I feel like the way he played the last game, and then picking this map, it just really says he wants to do pretty much the same thing, right? He's coming over and going to get a couple of lifts as they harass into this mineral line. Got to be careful you don't die to the Marines. There's quite a few of them there. I feel like almost more than initially expected. They didn't actually get too much damage to them, though. I like this Immortal as well. If you're going to play this Phoenix Colossus setup, there's a dangerous timing that Clem could hit around about now with like a Cyclone Marine push. Something like that. Immortal just helps you to stabilize that a little bit on the ground until your splash damage really gets going. So, yeah, and obviously it's not just like a push for right now, but also perhaps the next few moments after that as well, right? Like if the, when Stim kicks in here, for example, having the Immortal will just help you out so much, stabilizing against the incoming Terran aggression. Grabbing that probe as the Phoenix continue through the top. The Colossus is about to pop out of the Robo facility here. Back up through the top side. There's a hallucination that just... Oh, sorry, an Adept Shade, not a hallucination. An Adept Shade spotting this little army movement over here. I say though, Clem's going to have troubles attacking in anywhere because the third base is on that in-base, and that in-base is not easily broken into, so I don't really know where you go, actually, to try and deal some damage right now. Definitely feels like a very tough position, right? I say it's not the end of the world if you can't deal damage, but something to definitely look at a little bit. Marines get rid of an Adept. Wouldn't mind burrowing up on the Watchtower. Game sits pretty passively then for a little while. Ghost Calamity coming up from Clem, recognizing that, Ghosts and EMPs against the Phoenix early can be very effective. Obviously, we'll probably work on a Viking count a bit further down the line as well. Harstem is at some point just going to want to push out to the fourth base. I'm thinking about which fourth he takes. I guess he just takes the Pocket Expand, right? So then you're just defending that kind of real top right corner of the map. And he was pretty happy to just play onto 4 bases for a while last time. Look at Clem, 4 Vikings at once. He is already doubling down on kind of the counter to this airplay. But Harstem's building a Temple Archive, so Harstem's going to go about this a little bit differently. And it's just going to be a lot of Vikings against the Colossus, but Harstem will have access to Archons and maybe even Storm. We'll see if he actually commits into the Storm or not. That's still kind of up in the air here, right? It's not quite a guarantee just yet. Marine will go down. More Vikings, the Ghost continuing up and just going to be seeing the +1 armor. About to finish. Four Vikings all on the way out from Clem. Like I say, he's really been going quite heavy onto this anti-Colossus setup. It'll also be nice against the Prism. I was thinking initially the Prism might stick around and be used during a fight with High Templar inside, but Obviously, if you can peel a few Vikings off to shoot down a harassing prism, that's also going to be quite nice. Also pretty reasonable. And Bioforce back up the left-hand side for the moment. A few ghosts. The Vikings just coming back along here for the moment. And again, just going to see a bit of an army from Harstem setting up over on the far right-hand side of the map. So, I mean, he didn't take the fourth base I thought he would. I thought he was going to take that kind of central base and just really defend kind of that location. I wonder if he's afraid of maybe Clem dropping between bases then, or if he's just afraid of Clem being able to push up to that base more easily, because obviously it is a more forward base. So then he doesn't really mind kind of dragging himself out a bit more thinly across the map to make sure that Clem can't take advantages in those ways. Would be my best guess at the plan or the idea there for Harstem. Border mines were up. The few Vikings trying to press forward. The Archons there, able to turn the Vikings around. Missile turret firing. Prism taking some shots. Zealots coming charging through. Come in. Prism gets shot down. A few Zealots continue in. Just going to be having our Marines having to back it up a little bit. Cyclone gets a lock on going after. The Zealot there. Zealot will go down. Not going to go jumping on towards this planetary fortress. A couple of EMPs going off to start out with here. Another disruptor shot coming through. The Vikings continue to fight. A few of these Phoenix getting knocked back. Ones do get turned away and just have now Zealots going huge on this in-base. So the counterattack for Harstem pretty successful. Clem not really doing much out on the map either, so Harstem just getting damage done here. And Clem being slowed down pretty heavily from his, well, what's expected to just be his mining that should have been able to continue, right? So far, pretty good success for Harstem, and Harstem continuing down the right side of the map as he establishes base number 5. I wonder if Harstem even thinks about trying to sneak in the gold base. And Stargazers is a map where that gold base in the 6 o'clock is interesting because there's a lot of competition over that gold base later. Sometimes sneaking it down early and already having that position can be great for you. But obviously take it too soon and you kind of get punished for trying to go with it too soon, right? So you got to walk that somewhat of a fine line. Not put yourself in too awkward of a position. Another disruptor shot doesn't quite land. In fact, the splits have continuously here been great from Clem. He's not letting a single one of these connections go down. So very good defensive splits from Clem, and the disruptors really just a light show more than anything else for the last 30 seconds at least. Which is great because obviously disruptors can cause absolute destruction if you let them be anything more than the light show. Zealots going after the turret, and the Prism will warp in. A few more Zealots on the way in now. Just going to be seen as Zealots going onto the Sensor Tower too. The Vikings will get rid of the Prism and then I guess land to try and deal with the Zealots, so that's just a thing that's happening, that's kind of going on. Yeah, this Bio Ghost Force just coming back around and seeing just where exactly it can join in the fun, see where exactly it can get more damage dealt. To the top side, Stalker Archon Colossus setting up. Little EMP comes down, cheeky one. Doesn't do too much as it lands, as now the rest of this army set up as well. Disrupt shot. Fires, but doesn't quite reach. As, oh my goodness! He just wants to get rid of the Colossi. Wants to free up the supply for other things. Apparently right now just Zealots, Prism, and a Disruptor. So, you know, just says the Colossi aren't worth that much with this amount of Vikings out. And now Clem might want to think about just reducing his Viking count as well. The problem is it's very tempting to keep these Vikings alive because you feel as though you can use these Vikings to... Obviously, if you can use these Vikings to just kind of kill carriers and just stop that transition. But obviously you might die if you have this many Vikings and Harstem's fully focused on the ground force. Clem flanking from the top side. Turn off the units lost screen. Not right now. The flank on the top side coming in is obviously going to be dangerous. There were disruptor shots firing. He should send the Vikings off to kill an expansion. Honestly, it wouldn't be bad right now. He has too many Vikings, I think, but if you don't want to just give them up, then yeah, maybe hit a base. That topside base has a lot of cannons around it, but maybe like the bottom right, you just go through the bottom, you sneak in behind the mineral line, you just get a few probes. Just something, right? Because right now it's a whole lot of busy. Disruptor shot fires, another disruptor fires up as well. Oh, that base is just going to die if Clem doesn't lift it. The DT is striking for the first time and striking very nicely. Oh, that's actually a pretty nice base kill. One of the orbitals as well. Clem has a base here. He's got a bunch of CCs. He's even got orbitals, so he can replace the in-base expand he lost pretty easily, probably. DT is still working in the main, though, so damage still being dealt, and Clem just having to stay defensive. We've not really seen Clem be across the map at all. Not for quite a while, right? It's been very slow going in terms of Clem aggression this game. If there's really been any to talk about at all, it's been very, very low. As now, Clem is going to have this planetary fortress in trouble. He set up a very good surround here, but there's just so many disruptors. How does he ever actually get on top of this army? I think he needs the Vikings to actually land on the disruptors. I feel like he needs the Vikings to start killing off some of these disruptors because there's just so many of them. And DTs in the in-base will be taken down by the scan. 15 minutes here on Stargazers, and, well, I thought the last game was a nice long epic, but a second meeting of them here might just be even longer. Harstem, I feel like, is in pretty good control, though, right? He's definitely the one doing a lot of damage. The only problem I have for Harstem is he's about to get countered. The Liberator count is about to be coming up big time, and Harstem's army can fight Libs, but it's not great against Libs. You really want to start moving into Fleet Beacon units against Liberators. The Stalkers against a certain Liberator count just don't really cut it. Then the Disruptors get zoned out, and then Harstem can't push around as he's been pushing around so far. So Clem is not far away from having a real proper answer to Harstem's army for what feels like the first time in forever. The space that was trying to rebuild that goes down. He loses this planetary. Okay, well, Clem's in some eco trouble, but he has a bit of a bank to work with as he will try and re-establish these bases. An orbital will lift and relocate there. It will not be a planetary, but it's something at least, as two Liberators here and a couple of Libs taking down the Stalkers. These odds should not last much longer than that, and now we start to see the Libs protecting up the front. Harstem is so rich. I would just love to see him drop a Fleet Beacon, 3 Stargates. Even if he doesn't use them right now, just have the option to use them a bit further down the line. Maybe could have had another base up as well. You know, for a game that's been so much in his control, I would have loved to see him have the gold base, and I would have loved to see him take the central base as well. I feel like those are bases Harstem could have absolutely had in this game without any issue at all, because he's just been so active. I understand normally maybe that wouldn't have worked out, but in this case, because he's just been always up in Clem's face, Clem's never had a chance to come through and succeed against those bases, right? So there's not been a chance for him to deny them. So yeah, it would have been good for Harstem to maybe take advantage of that. Harstem leading about 30 supply at the moment. Stalkers will blink in. These couple of Libs, obviously not really very well placed. They're kind of covering the walking path, or the edge of the walking path between bases, but easily picked off. Honestly, I feel like they could have had a bit more love and care given to them. Oh, Disruptor's pulling back. Bio coming in from this side. Another Disruptor shot coming through. A couple more Disruptor shots coming through. Landing on a good chunk of Marauders. Disruptors continue to try and escape away. We're actually going to recall. This is the problem with the ground army. If you do run out of Disruptor shots, it is a bit flimsy, and Clem wipes this army of Harstem all of a sudden. Wow. All you had to do was get through the endless amount of Disruptor shots and get a bit of a surround going. Suddenly Harstem is in retreat mode, and Harstem with 6k, 2k in the bank is currently not spending all of his money because he's lacking tech structures. He could have invested into, like I say, even if it wasn't the Stargates and the Fleet Beacon, just more Disruptors, more to rebuild with. Clem's army right now, I said it a couple minutes ago, the Liberators were going to be a pretty hard counter to what Harstem has. And now that Harstem lost a bit of momentum, Clem really will get that Liberator count all collected together, and he can start pushing those Liberators in certain locations. That's going to make it extremely difficult for Harstem. Well, Zards and a DT will come wandering forward here. And it's already defended by Clem, who comes into the main base. Should clean this up without too many losses. Just needs a scan for that one DT. Harstem's pushing in on the bottom side. The Liberators will not siege right away. The Stalkers know better than to stick around there, though. They know they're going to get overrun if they take any amount of time to try and keep on fighting. As the Lip Siege, scaring the Disruptors off, this game is going to come to a maxed out situation on both sides again. Harstem adding on the third robo facility now, also adding on that forward nexus. By adding on that nexus and that third robo, I feel like he puts himself in a position... Like, I mean, to me, this just could have happened so long ago. Clem's not even looked at that base, right? He could have already had that set up. Maybe he didn't need the nexus, but why not just have it there, have stack defense there just in case? I don't know. I just feel like that was something Harstem got a bit lazy with. Maybe he felt as though he was just winning the game, so he didn't need to do those things. But that's why you never assume you're winning, right? If that's what happened. Like I said, not guaranteeing that that's what happened here, but it is a possibility at least. Disruptor shots onto a couple of Marauders. Bioforces will be splitting back here. Disruptors continuing through. Fire units staying as well away as they can for the moment. More Liberators will just be sieging up and hoping to try and zone that area as best as possible. DTs will get the planetary bottom left as well. Obviously, if there's no instant repair or something, then DTs will just get rid of bases extremely quickly in these scenarios. So you got to be really on top of them and quick to respond as Clem. Oh, big fight for Clem here. He's got a good concave. There is a few disruptors that are able to start firing, but not a lot of them. Doesn't feel amazingly brilliant for Harstem. He's now going to try and force his way across that bridge, which is a pretty narrow place. The Liberators are going to force Harstem to keep on pushing further forward. The recall attempt actually gets more out than I thought he would, just because he was so quick to recall, but he still is losing a lot. Trying to warp into this natural again, some Stalkers to shut down the Liberator that's been playing defense. And what a conundrum of a game, as Harstem still goes relatively untouched back at home, which again for Protoss usually means they should be in pretty good shape, but that's just not really been the case here at all, because Harstem's army has just not been good enough for a long time now. I think straight up, right, his army has just been... Like I say, there's such a reliance on the Disruptors, and now that the Disruptor count is far from impressive, the Disruptors are really something which are just... Yeah, the Disruptors to me now are just something which are just not really gonna cut it anymore, and if they're not gonna cut it, then what is gonna cut it in this army? Like, they were the army. The Zealot Stalker gets overrun at this stage. I mean, Harstem doesn't even have gas to tech up with. He was kind of low on the gas bank earlier as well when I was talking about, you know, when he could have been setting up into other things. You know, for 6k minerals, he only had 2k gas, and there are bases which he didn't take some of his gases on as well, so that's also an issue which was avoidable for Harstem. Just something else he could have been a bit more proactive about when in a much more comfortable position of this game. Clem, wow, absolutely, I mean, just pure bravery right there, quite frankly. Stimming up into that Disruptor shot and targeting him down. I don't think he doubted it for a moment that he was going to be able to make that work. EMP's going off, Zealots taking a lot of damage, Stalkers blinking through. We will see Liberators being killed. Clem just with bio left, but Harstem is really struggling. He can only really afford to build Zealots, and he knows Zealots in the main army aren't going to do it, so he's building Zealots on the counterattack positions. Yeah, and then they're walking into Liberators, and the Prism's going to get shot down. That's going to be pretty much the end of that, and Clem, his main army is just not being shifted at all. Harstem trying to take the gold base, but maybe too little. Too late here on Stargazers. 23 minutes in game now for this game 2 between Clem and Harstem. Clem with a win here forces an ace match in this series. Harstem with a win would have shut it down, but I don't think we're going to be seeing that at this stage. We'll see. I mean, obviously, if a few Disruptors go off in a row and they all kind of really suck for Clem and Clem gets into a lot of trouble, then yeah, maybe there still is a way for Harstem, but that is pretty much the only way at this point. He needs Zealot counterattack to do astoundingly well considering the defense that Clem has set up, and he probably needs some Disruptor magic mixed in there as well. And Clem, he's already just rebuilding to so much good stuff to deal with all of that as well, right? Ghost, Libs, all of those continuing through. The only thing I have to be careful of maybe is that going too many Liberators right now against what is just a lower tech army could maybe lead to you getting overwhelmed if you're not careful with the Libs, but I honestly think either way it's going to be pretty okay. I think Clem is feeling very comfortable right now, and man, we got some really epic games out of this. And Clem Harstem started, I was looking at this and thinking, man, it's going to be kind of a quick stream, huh? Clem Harstem, yeah, and then Clem and Harstem play what? I mean, right now about 45 minutes of StarCraft 2 from these two. And awesome games as well, like really top-notch StarCraft, so yeah, very happy we caught up on this series. Disruptors firing, Harstem trying to find a way to push forward. The issue is Clem is very happy to fight, and 2 Disruptors just don't keep Clem away long enough. And that's all Harstem really has to buy time with. Clem not even really needing the Liberators to win this fight. The buy units alone are getting it done. They are chasing. They know they've got the Disruptors within reach. The Prism is so low, you can't really risk to lift the Disruptors up to save him anyways. Harstem taps out GG's, and that is going to be Clem to get the W. And Clem is going to find himself the victory.